Well, today is a very special day right here on the Andrew Burnett Show. We've got Joseph Kapsch with us, and he writes for the Wrap, and he's been a special correspondent on shows like Good Morning America and many other programs. Joseph, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you? I just want to correct one thing. I was the former executive editor, so the Wrap doesn't think I'm trying to say I still write for them. I used to run the Wrap formerly and Hollywood Reporter formerly. Right now, I'm just a free agent.
Well, that is awesome. So, tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about what inspired you to become a pop culture expert in the entertainment industry.
So I think like most people that end up working in Hollywood, I was raised on the East Coast, and I could remember from as early, as 5 years old, there was something just attractive to me about Hollywood in general and TV shows and filmmaking and being very curious, not just like what you were seeing on screen, but how did they do that? And always was enthralled with newscasts and anything to do with like news, but then also like a performance factor that goes into it. And I could remember my family saying, you're going to end up in like, I would say like, I wanted to be in Los Angeles. I want to work in the industry from a very young age, but you always think you want to be like a performer or an actor or this or that. And then you end up in a craft that more, I think, suits you, but is as close as you can get to Hollywood, And so it was always attractive to me as I really began to learn about journalism is like the storytelling and the power of media. Like we actually get to tell stories when we're doing it right that can impact lives, but then also just really shed the truth on things. And that can be Hollywood, that can be that can be anything. I love the aspect of storytelling, and I love the instant reaction and feedback you can get from a digital outlet. It's instant. Still gives me a high, like when you break a story. There's nothing like breaking a story.
So, who were some of your influences that have inspired you to be who you are today?
Well, the interesting thing was like when I was younger, it was like I thought it was either between like a host or like I didn't quite know. So it's like when I used to watch television, like I used to watch Peter Jennings on the news, or I used to watch Dick Clark host things. I think those were, I knew it was something in broadcast and news, but I didn't quite know what. A lot of the talk show hosts, and I would watch live with Kathy Regis and Kathy Lee back then. So there was an inspiration all with sort of GMA anchors or Today anchors, and there was somewhere in there. Oprah, even watching Oprah as a kid growing up, I knew there was something in that like news talk element that affects lives I wanted to do.
So, you used to be the producer of Meet the Hollywood Press. Tell us a little bit
Yes.
about that.
That was an amazing, so realize working in the industry, starting as the way that I worked up through was my first job was with Sony Pictures Digital when I was 22 years old. And I got a job on a site called soapcity.com. And I worked my way up to where I became, the top of the site. However, as I was running the sites and learning to drive big numbers in traffic, you get pigeonholed. But I always had a desire to want to do hosting, like a talk format, but about like different issues with other journalists. So I met Maria Menounos, who is a TV personality, and her husband, Kevin Undergaro, own a network called AfterBuzz TV, which started out as just like after shows for all of the shows on television. Like they would just have like kids that want to be aspiring and put stuff on their reel. Well, we had met when I was running the Wrap about and talked about this kind of series. Then a year later, we ended up launching it, but without just me as a free agent. And I got to every week, like write the show, book the show, and then host the show. And it was a dream. The problem was, it's like a taxing format. And it's like, there's so much out there right now. And I'm just going to be honest. It's just like, there's so much out there that I was doing some other projects, and I just felt like I wasn't applying myself in the way that I needed Meet the Hollywood Press, needed to really make it break through. And I found that my passion lies also in broader news now. I love politics in addition. I love general interest. I like Vice Vice.com types, impactful journalism, you know, in addition to pop culture. So every week I was kind of starting to force myself into like, what are the 3 topics in Hollywood that I want to talk about? And it just started to be, I found it was a good, excellent experience, and I love doing it. And I definitely want to do it again, but I want to do it more where I get to talk about a broader array of topics.
So was it more controversial topics that y'all spoke about, or did you have guests that came on, or how did you do that?
Yeah, so it was me as the host, and then I had a co-host, Alina Vision, and then we would book 2 to 3 journalists from Hollywood industry or entertainment journalists. So whether they be people that write entertainment journalism, they host, they podcast, so an array of actual journalists to talk about the topics. And yes, it was hot button issues. So at that time we were talking about, you know, all of the Matt Lauer type of stuff, the Me Too movement. We were talking about Roseanne Barr when she got fired from, it was a juicy year. We had Jussie Smollett and R. Kelly arrest. So it's always going to be hot button issues. And I would try to put a panel together that brought differing views, you know, because we could all sit in the room and Hollywood gets this rap for like, it's all like raging liberals, you know, but it's not. There is some people that are down the middle and are even lean more conservative in their views, and you want to have that kind of conversation, you know?
So you just brought me a question to my mind that I wasn't even thinking about.
Yeah.
The Matt Lauer accusation deal. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Sure.
Do you think the accusations were true, that what happened, or what's your side of the story?
My side of the story is that I believe there was, so Matt himself wrote an op-ed just last week where he was going to write this op-ed back when he was accused even further. He has come forward and said, and absolutely denies that a rape happened. And that is with the producer, Brooke Nevels, who filed the complaint that led to his ultimate firing. Do insiders and direct insiders that I have spoken to know that Matt Lauer was known for fooling around with different? Yes. I believe that he had, you know, inappropriate affairs. I'm not going to say one way or another if that was rape, because how would I know? You know, only the 2 people in that room know. What I do think is that at the time that the Matt Lauer accusations came out, it was coming on the heels of when Harvey Weinstein, the major break in where Me Too started. And I think that Me Too went really far one way. And it was just, I think it was an unfortunate thing where Matt Lauer because if you notice now, like as we come, 2 years, almost 3 years later since it first started, people are kind of taking a pause now. Like if someone's accused, you know, you err on the side of like, okay, let's hear both sides. Let's have a fair, you know, you've got to do that. I think before it was like, if you got Me Too'd and there was at least 5 to 10 women that all said it, you were just assumed and bye-bye, you know. I do know that Matt Lauer, based on my sources and what I've heard through the industry, did have a lot of inappropriate relations with staffers or interns or whatever. I don't know what happened between him and that staffer, but I think it's all unfortunate. I think what's more unfortunate is that NBC Universal did not catch on to this kind of culture sooner. And then even now, like they finally got rid of Andy Lack, who oversaw the news division when all this went on. And I think that was finally a good choice. And I hope that they're putting, you know, new practices in place that will prevent any of this from happening again.
So is the Me Too movement still as rapid as what it was, or are we seeing the downplay of this slowing down a little bit?
I felt like it took like a little, it was really, really every day. And then it kind of took, and now it's kind of leveled. And now I'm kind of seeing stories like about it here and there. But I think that COVID right now and the coronavirus is overpowering any other kind of news. And even Hollywood right now, there's such a struggle for Hollywood just to get back to work and figure out economically how people are going to survive, that I think right now it's not actually the time that I would anticipate people coming out with those kind of allegations right now, because it's like there's way bigger issues at stake, people's livelihoods. Every day people are losing their jobs, et cetera, et cetera.
So we know about the hashtag Me Too movement, but we also seen that Bill Cosby got caught up in all of this mess.
Yes.
What's the facts of the story there?
So the facts of the story there, Bill Cosby, I mean, I don't want to quote the wrong number, but it's upwards of something like, oh my God, in the 20s, I want to say, or 30s, because New York Magazine put all of the accusers' pictures. Bill Cosby is doing his time as he should do his time. He absolutely was guilty. And there was, I think, a culture of silence in Hollywood at the time that allowed that kind of behavior to happen. And listen, we're living in a better era. Let's just say that. As far as Bill Cosby, justice, I feel, has been served. He's behind bars, and that's where he should be.
So we see that there's been a big change going on at AGT with Gabrielle Union's abrupt leave. Let's talk a little bit about that.
So Gabrielle Union came forward. So last year when they were announcing the new season, it was announced that her Gabrielle Union and new judge Julianne Hough were not being brought back for the new season. And it kind of set up some alarm bells, because Gabrielle Union, in terms of social media following and bringing buzz to the show, she was the number one judge. She had like the most engagement. She was bringing like new viewers to the show. And by the way, they're contractually obligated to promote the show on their social media. So it's very easy to measure sort of like what judges is really getting that kind of engagement. And so it was shocking, because she also, do you remember the kid that she hit the golden buzzer for and it went viral? Yeah. That was incredible. That was her. So remember, like, everyone was talking about her as a judge on America's Got Talent. So when she wasn't renewed, we were like, okay, something's up here. So shortly thereafter, a very explosive story emerged where she had gone and complained about Simon Cowell smoking. She had gone and because he was allegedly smoking. He smokes on set. He smokes in his dressing room. Apparently this is I mean, look, Simon Cowell is a cash cow for them. He's executive producer of the show. So he's going to light up a cigarette, unfortunately, wherever he wants. But she has asthma. And so it was literally like making her ill. And so she was asked, she went to like, you know, the channels of like, to complain, can he stop smoking, please? And he didn't. And then there was situations where she was feeling that there were racially insensitive comments or remarks being made and about contestants, or Jay Leno appeared as a guest judge and made an insensitive, like a racist remark about Asians. And she just went and reported this. She just felt the workplace overall was problematic, you know? And so when she raised these concerns, they claim that this wasn't why she was not renewed, but they launched an investigation. And then just today, a Variety cover story where she finally, this is her first interview since everything happened. She let the investigation play out, where she came on record, and she basically stands by her story. She was also claimed she was told her rotating hairstyles were too black for America. They deny this, like NBC, Universal, and the production companies behind the show say, no, there was never insensitive comments. I think it's like, it's a case of the stuff that goes on, you know, at the show level because of powerful producers and production companies gets swept under the rug. And then when somebody finally, a woman specifically, speaks up, then she's, the corporate company tries to paint it as if she's difficult or she's a bitch or she's, you know, I can say that word, I'm assuming, or can I?
You're good. You're good.
Okay. Yeah. She is painted as difficult. Now, if this was a guy, it wouldn't be positioned like that. So you're dealing with a situation where a black actress and performer and comes to the show, brings new energy, brings new buzz, and then literally just wants like a nice work environment to come from, and she doesn't get renewed for raising these concerns. So unfortunate. Wow. Yeah, unfortunate. But you can see by the goodwill on social media that fans and viewers clearly stand behind her. They're not of the side of NBC Universal, at least online. But again, that's a sampling of the thing. And she was disappointed, I think, because Terry Crews, who hosts the show, did not come to her defense right away. He later apologized, because basically when Terry Crews, Julianne Hough, who was also fired alongside her, were asked, and Howie, they said, we've all had different experiences on the show than that. So they basically didn't, they didn't have her back. And it was probably because Julianne Hough also had other deals with NBC and she didn't want to come out. We know how this works. And, I understand it's her livelihood. But she was disappointed that Terry Crews then later apologized and did have her back. And the Twitter certainly has her back. I'll say that. So listen, Gabrielle Union is very talented. And I think this is a blip on the radar. It's not going to, she's got plenty of things going on and projects going on. So she'll be fine.
So who are the new judges? I know Sofia Vergara was one of them.
So they brought back Heidi Klum, who's been like a judge on there for many seasons. And they brought Sofia Vergara, which actually, then maybe that's the silver lining in the Gabrielle Union unfortunate situation, because I love Gabrielle, but Sofia Vergara brings a really good energy too. So I think that she's been great. And it seems that she gets along and there seems to be chemistry. And again, yay for diversity. It's nice to see they brought like a Latin judge on, female judge. So in terms of like, if you had to pick someone that had to come in and replace, like, it was a good choice. She's doing a good job, at least in the clips I've seen.
So there seems to be a fiasco going on that we're going to enjoy talking about here.
Yes.
With a Netflix series that came out, Tiger King. So let's talk a little bit about this and the craziness of this series.
Can you believe it? The phenomenon of Tiger. And by the way, I'm one of them. I ended up binging that in one single day and night.
What in the world?
I think there's something about it's. First of all, let me just say it's all terrible people doing terrible things. Okay. And there's no one that's less terrible than it was astounding to me just how bad, like, these people that own, first of all, did any of us in America really know this whole like subculture of exotic animals? Like, it was so eye-opening. I'm like, oh my God, they keep like tigers, and it was great. Like, just that on its face was crazy enough. And then you add the whole element. Joe Exotic, I don't even know. There's so many words to say, but then he had like the governor run. Nothing, you can't write something as crazy as Tiger King. And I think that's why it struck such a chord, because you're literally looking at it going, this can't be real. Like, and it is. Yes, it is real. It's all real.
So what is your opinion of Carol Baskin? Let's talk a little bit about that.
She killed her husband. 1,000% killed her husband. Where's the guy? All these years, and you're like, where is he? Where's her husband? Where is he?
And I seen the other day on Facebook, I think it was, they're selling these limited edition trading cards with her and her husband's signature on them, and they're all sold out. Like, what's the hype with this stuff?
Well, what is her famous line? Hey, all you cats and kittens out there.
Yeah.
Did you see the SNL? The SNL also spoofed her recently. She's a character. There was no question in my mind and everyone you'd see online after they watch it go, blah, 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 blah. And they go, and Carol killed her husband. That was like and Carol definitely killed her husband. It was like universal across the internet.
So how can we find out whether she killed her husband or not?
I don't know, but it did prompt, I think, like the cold case was starting to take, I believe, tips again on the case. Who knows?
Wow.
What do you think? I think you watch
It's a mystery. It's crazy to me. I can't place my finger on it.
It's incredible to me because I tend to watch some of like the true crime series. Like, I love Snapped on Oxygen, and I'll watch these things. It always astounds me, though, when I was watching the whole thing play out on Tiger King, how Joe Exotic was plotting this, how like we kept saying, don't these people watch like Forensic Files or Dateline or anything to like you almost are learned like they were like breaking every rule of like how to get caught in how they were plotting it. It's just like, if you just watch these true crime series, they give you some tips on like how not to get caught.
It's just a crazy world.
Yes.
Now let's talk a little bit about Joe Exotic, thinking that he's going to go to President Donald Trump to get pardoned.
Well, is it so listen, if Donald Trump thinks it'll get him votes, then he will absolutely pardon him. He'll pardon him, though, right in the most opportune time as we come up to November. Because Joe Exotic, to be honest with you, watching the series, I do feel that, when you actually think it's like he attempted to do it, but I mean, I forgot his sentence. It's pretty harsh, you know? And at the same token, it's like all of the other people on there have done just as bad. Like, why shouldn't they be in jail too? Anyway, his husband that he's still married to is like making pleas on the internet and stuff like that, to try to get him, you know, free Joe Exotic. We'll see. I mean, Trump did say, I'll take a look at it, you know, when he was asked about it in a press conference. Look, he got Blago out early, Rod Blagojevich, the former governor. There was many people that he pardoned that are probably worse than Joe Exotic is.
So which side of the story do you take?
On Joe Exotic?
Mm-hmm.
It's so hard to tell you because it's like, okay, so no one should be committing murder. At the same token, if Carol killed her husband, you can make a case for it's an eye for an eye, right? It's you know, you know what? I don't want to pick one way or another. I just think I believe in karmic justice. How about that?
So another fiasco that's taking the Twitter world by storm is hashtag Donald Trump meltdown. Let's talk a little bit about that.
So for the first time ever, Twitter slapped a check the facts on, like basically a fact check sticker on one of his tweets where he was going ballistic about mail-in ballots, which I don't know. It's like, this is the new narrative now that mail-in voting, we've had mail-in voting in places for the dawn of time, right? And so he's saying that Democrats are trying to steal the election. So when Twitter slapped the fact check on it, then the story started being like, oh, Twitter fact checked Donald Trump. Then he started to melt down about how Twitter's in the bag and in the tank for the Democrats. They're trying to steal it. The Twitter and the fake news media is trying to steal the election. But it was like the most famous meltdown. It was like in the middle of all these tweets, then it was just like this random, like, Obamagate is worse than Watergate. Like, it was just like to put it mildly, like if you looked at that Twitter feed and you just like covered the name, right? And you were like, this is like a family member of yours Twitter feed, you'd be like, oh my God, we need to get them help, right? So it's pretty scary to think that the person who's tweeting this has his fingers on the codes. I'm just saying.
Wow. And you know, the thing is, celebrities are now using that same hashtag.
Yes, because they just like to troll him. Any reason to. I mean, obviously, Hollywood is not a fan of Donald Trump, or nor is California, which why he always threatens to hold funds for us or whatever he's gonna do. But then he always actually delivers because Newsom had some decent things to say about him, like through this crisis. But suffice to say, Hollywood has a field day and when they can troll Donald Trump with a hashtag.
So who were some of the celebrities that used that hashtag?
I mean, I think I saw like Kathy Griffin, and then they were doing like Kathy Griffin almost got in trouble because she shared another of that bloody photo. Oh God, I off the top of my head, I can't name, but it was definitely trending and there were some celebrity names up there. And then also they were talking about, there was the other hashtag where it's like, Trump lied, people died. That's the other one, just when they're speaking about coronavirus and its statistics.
Wow. So
yeah.
A bunch of craziness going on in
yeah,
the
and
world
it's worse
today.
because everybody, like people are still quarantined. So like you see how so many more people are on social media. So it's even crazier, you know?
So you have been the special correspondent for the Oscars and the Emmys. Tell us a little bit about what that experience was like.
When I was editorial director of a site that is no longer in existence, Zap2It. I don't know if you knew it, Zap2It.com. It was a television site that I was asked to come in at Tribune and redo and take over. And we ended up becoming so popular that we beat like TV Guide online in traffic. That's how popular we ended up getting. And so because KTLA, the local station here in California, was also owned by Tribune Company, Zap2It and them started doing entertainment stuff together. So they asked me to come on and be the special correspondent for Live from the Emmys for KTLA. So I got to be like their digital course, meaning like they would throw to me in studio like what are people talking about on Twitter and what are the hot topics, and then I would throw back to Sam Rubin and Jessica Holmes. They're like their two of their main anchors. It was a blast. For the Oscars, I was asked to be I would appeared on CNN as like to recap the race of like who should win. So like I was on their morning show the Friday before the Oscars, the Monday after, and I would get to talk about who we think's going to win, what's the buzz out there. So yeah, I've always been asked. I was asked to like more like handicap and analysis on the races. It's a blast. I love doing that.
So is there any more trending entertainment headlines going on right now that you would like to talk about?
No, I think I'm good.
There was enough
That's
to
a
laugh
whole lot.
about.
We
Yeah.
unpacked a lot there, Andrew.
Well, Joseph, it's been a complete honor having you
Yes.
on the program. Tell us how we can find out a little bit more about you or the articles that you do, or how we
Sure.
can keep up with you.
You can find me at Joseph Kapsch. That's JOSEPHKAPSCH on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Facebook.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. We're
Thanks.
going to do this again
Thank
very
you.
soon. So we'll be
Absolutely.
doing it again.
Thank you for having me, Andrew. Take care.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.